Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Marco Arts. So today let's go ahead and attempt a question on development drawing. Right. So let's go ahead and read the question. So we're going to be attempting question B. It reads: draw the development of a slashed conical prism with base radius 40 centimeters, with shortest and longest heights of 55 centimeters and 75 centimeters respectively, right? In brackets, slant sides are 60 degrees to the horizontal. Okay, so let's go ahead and highlight our key points. What are our key elements here, right? So our key elements, we have shortest distance, right? Now let's go ahead and write shortest distance, and which that's 55 centimeters. So I realized that centimeters are a bit bigger, so I decided to use millimeters, right? If you're using millimeters, then you know your drawing will just be enough on the paper. Yeah, exactly. So let's go ahead and use millimeters instead of centimeters. But we are not changing any measurements. We are just going to be using 55, but it will be now 55 millimeters. Centimeters is a little bit bigger. So we now have our longest distance, which is also 75 millimeters, right? So what else do we have as our key element? We also have slant sides. That's written 60 degrees to the horizontal. So let's go ahead and write slant sides, which is 60 degrees. So we are going to be focusing on these guys. Since this is a cone, what you want to do is you want to draw something with slant sides. So the slant sides, they're 60 degrees to our horizontal line. So let's go ahead and do this, right? So we now want to go ahead and construct our center lines. Let's go ahead and construct our center lines. So what is development drawing is something that we want to focus on. Development is just opening something up, right? Let's say you have a cylindrical shape, then you're asked to cut it at a certain point, then you open it up, like you're spreading something, right? How do you visualize it? If it's a cylindrical shape, then you're asked to open it up. What shape do you have? So obviously you're going to have your rectangle. If it's a cylindrical shape, if you open it up, you're going to have a rectangle. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and draw our circle with our radius. I think radius was given as 40, right? So you go ahead and draw your circle, which was, you draw it to the given measurements, right? So our circle here will be our plan. It's not just a circle, it's a plan. Someone was asking me and they were saying that I'm confused. What's a plan? A plan is just a top view. If you visualize something from the top, you get the plan. So plan is just another word for top view. So now, as you can see, we have now projected my lines to where I'm going to have my front elevation. So guys, I wasn't seeing my 60 degrees that way, 60 degrees that way. So I just measure the 60 degree angle, because our slant sides, if you still remember where we wrote the key points, our slant sides were at 60 degrees to the horizontal line. So now I'm measuring the 60 degrees, right? So see, if you have your 60 degrees, you can just go ahead and use that one to draw the 60-degree angle, right? But for me, I don't have it. I can't find it. I don't know where I put it. So I just use what I had right now at the point. So now let's go ahead and draw our slant sides. So now we have our slant sides at 60 degrees. Where they meet, that's our height, right? So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and have our shortest and longest distance. So I was just measuring here. If you try to measure from that horizontal line, if you want to get your height, you will see that that height won't be 75. So which means our height is we are going to get it, the longest and shortest distance, we are going to measure it on the slant sides. So now I'm measuring 75 from the left hand side, right? So now I went ahead and measured my 75 right there, right? And on that other slant side, I measured my 55, right? So let's go ahead and measure that, guys. So if you obtain those 2 points, you know that that's where your cutting line is going to pass through it. So now let's go ahead and draw our cutting line. That's where our cutting line is passing through, right? So that's our cutting line. So it means that our cone or our rectangular, sorry, it's not rectangular. Okay, it's cone. Our cone, that's where it's cut at. So it means that you want to go ahead. Now you want to go ahead and divide your circle. Usually I don't want to call it circle, I want to call it base, because from the plan that will be our base, right? So this method of dividing, you just take the radius of the circle, then you go where the center lines are intersecting with that circle, with that same radius, then you go ahead and step. And after that, you see that we have 12 equal points that are equally spaced. So that's how you can divide a circle, or you can use your 30-60 degree sets way, just aligning it and drawing. So now I have numbered my numbers going clockwise, starting from 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 11. Then you come back to 0. So now what I want to do is we want to go ahead and project our points to the plan. To the front elevation, from the plan to the front elevation, right? So now you have your points, so you go ahead and number the points. That's 9, that's 11, 7, 0, 6, 1, 5, 2, 4, and then we have our point 3 there, right? So these points, they are corresponding to the points that are on our plan. The plan is that circle that we have constructed. So now what we want to do is we want to take those points to the apex, right? So now you go ahead and draw those points going to the apex, right? My hands are blocking you guys, but yeah. So you take those points to the apex. The apex is where our slant sides are meeting, right? That's the apex. The highest point of your cone is the apex. From the base to the highest point of the cone, that's the apex. I don't know if you're following with me, guys, but this is actually simple. So now what you want to do is you now have your points, right? You now have where the points are meeting with the cutting line, right? So let me just go ahead and darken the shape that we are going to be working with, so that you guys can follow with me and you can actually see how we are doing it, where we are going, right? Okay. Right. So I've just darkened, then that's where we have our cutting line, but I'm not going to draw it. So that's our thing, right? That's our slashed cone. So what we want to go ahead and do is we want to go ahead and develop that. Developing is like you are spreading, as I explained. You are opening up something, then you say, how does it look like, right? If it's a cone, how does it look like? If you open it up, right, then you spread it. I don't know if you have got the example that I gave you about the cylindrical prism or cylindrical shape, that if you open it up, if you cut it and you open it up, what do you have? You have a rectangle and maybe 2 circles, one on the upper part and one on the lower part. So now what I'm just doing is I'm just taking my distances to that other slant side, but I realize that it's not necessary, but I just prefer doing it. But you guys cannot do it if you don't want to, maybe it waste time for you. But what I just did was for me to know that I will have I will be just taking my distance from one line. So now what I want to do is you can just go ahead and draw any line at any given point where you see you have space. Because sometimes I realize that people might not have space. You find that the paper is maybe too small, like, or you have less space left on the top part of your paper or at the bottom part. So you just decide where you have space, where you know that your drawing is going to occupy much of the space. So now you have taken that height from the base to the apex. So now let's go ahead and extend our line and know that we have that height from the base to the apex, right? We took that distance using our pair of compasses, right? So that's the height. That's the distance from the base to the apex. So now let's go ahead and draw a curve, right? So that curve, if you open up your cone, you will see the base as a curve. It will be just a curve. Because if you join it, that's when you see it as a circle. But if you open it up, it will be a curve, right? More like a semicircle or something, but it will be a curve, right? So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and measure and take our heights, right? So from the apex, you go ahead and take that height to the point where you have your 9, that's 0.9. So then you go to where you have your apex there, then you draw that curve, right? So now, why are we drawing those? Why are we taking those distances from the apex to the point where it is where our lines or our construction lines from the plan are meeting with the cutting plane? Why are we taking those? Those are our heights, right? What do I mean by heights? If you cut a certain shape, right, you have the width and the height. So now what you want to do is you are getting the heights, right, from the base to where the shape has been cut. That's the height. But now I'm just taking the height from the apex because it's one and the same thing, right? So those are our heights. And someone would ask, why are we drawing them as curves? What you want to do is, as curves, you are now opening this thing up. If you open it up, most of it will be curves, right? But these curves, they will form a shape, a different shape, since it's no longer a complete cone. That's why we want to have those curves so that we see our shape that we are going to obtain after we cut this cone, right? So now let's go ahead and draw and complete those curves. I'm sorry guys, my hands keep on blocking you where we are taking these heights. But I think I will make another video, I think, so that you guys can follow through. You guys can understand where we are getting these heights. But it's just from the apex to the point where our cutting plane is cutting through those points that are coming from the plan, right? So now let's go ahead and draw our curves, right? I don't know if that's I think that was the 10th curve. So now let's go ahead and draw our last curve, which is 0.3, right? So that's our last curve. I don't know if it's visible, guys, but now we have those curves, the heights, not the curves as such, but the heights from the base, right? So now we have those heights. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and see those points that are on our base, where they are on that base which we are going to use to develop it. So to get the distance that you step on that base, you just go ahead and take the distance from that plan between the divisions that you made. You just go ahead and take one of them, any of it, then you go ahead and step it 12 times so that you know you have a complete circle, right? So that's what I'm doing right now, guys. I don't know if you're following through. So development is just opening up something. If you just tell your brain that you're opening something up, I think it will help you. So since I decided to start from that point 3. So if I'm starting on 3, I will write 3. And you go ahead and write your numbers going clockwise right? You follow a clockwise direction. So you go 3, 4, 5, then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, then you go back to 0, go 1, 2. Then you also have to complete the full circle. So you step another point, and that's point 3, right? So let's go ahead and write 3. So now you have your points, right? And you want to join those points to the apex, right? Because you're developing a cone, and a cone, what we all know is it has one point where all the points on the base, they will come back to one apex point. They will come back to one point. So now I want to go ahead and draw our draw our construction lines going to the apex point. So let's join those points going to the apex, right? So that's how you do it, and it's quite simple. Just go ahead, joining your lines from the base going to the apex. So now this, if you remember what I said, it says that I said you'll be getting heights, right? So these are the heights. If you go ahead and measure that distance from the points that we are calling the base to the apex, if you just go ahead and measure that, those distances are the same with this distance from the base to the apex from the front elevation. If you go ahead and measure that, those distances are the same. So it just means you are developing something, you are opening up something, you are spreading something up. So it means that if you are spreading something, you just have to keep the distances. The distances have to be the same. They don't have to vary. They will just remain the same. So now let's go ahead and draw our last point, which is point 3. So now, as you can see, we now have our heights, right? So those heights, what do you want to do with them? So now we have our points, right? We have that height. So where those heights meet with our curves, right? That's where you go ahead and put your points, right? Where those heights are meeting with our curves, you go ahead and put your points right there, right? So you can just go ahead and put dots. So that's 0.9, so that was 0.10, then you go 11, then you come back to 0, and you have to see where 0 is. Then you come back to where 1 is intersecting with the curve 1. Go ahead and draw that. Then you come back to 0.3. So now, as you can see, you now have your points. What you want to do is you want to go ahead and darken those points, right? So now let's go ahead and darken it. So now, as you can see, now that height is the height from the base to where we are having our cutting plane. So our cutting plane is starting at that point. So now the cut surface, that's how it will be looking like. It will be looking like that, right? So this is how you would visualize this thing if it has been cut, right? That curve will appear like that. Then you go ahead and darken that part. So now we want to go ahead and complete our cone. So that's how our cone would look like if you are to develop it, right? So that point that we've just used our freehand to join is how the cut surface would look like, right? That's how it would look like. So now let's go ahead and darken so that we complete our cone, our developed cone. That's our base that we are darkening there, right? And those sides from 3 to that, our straight lines that we just darkened, the one on the left and the one on the right, those are the slant heights, right? Those will be our slant heights, the slant height from 3, right? From 3 to that point where we have our cutting line. So this is just development, guys. It is simple. So now what you want to do is you want to go ahead and draw an ellipse. This ellipse, why do we draw this ellipse? This ellipse is the point where we will see the the cut surface, or how you'd visualize the cut surface from the top, right? Because remember, this cone is no longer full, right? It has been cut, right? I don't know if you get it. It has been cut. So we need an ellipse. The shape that will come out, it won't be a perfect circle. It will be an ellipse because it has been cut at a slant height. I don't know if you're getting it. It has been cut at a slant height. So it just means that you get an ellipse, not a complete circle. All right, so let's go ahead and draw our circle, guys. All right. So not our circle, our ellipse. It will be an ellipse. So now you go to the points where those lines which we had constructed before from the plan going to the front elevation are meeting with our cutting plane. You project them going downwards, right? Perpendicular, right? They should be at an angle of 90 degrees, as you can see. They're just going downwards, right? They are not 90 degrees to that cutting plane. No, they are 90 degrees to our base, right? So now that line, if you can see, that's 0.9. You go ahead and see where it is intersection with 0.9. They're intersecting at that part. Then our next one will be 0.10. Our next one. So you go ahead and just mark where our points are intersecting. Those lines are intersecting with those slant lines which are just constructed on our plan. So now, as you can see, I'm marking those points. Then you go ahead and mark the last point, which is 0.3. You take it down straight. That's where we have our 0.3. So now, if you complete that, you will see how our ellipse would look like. That's how you would visualize or see from the top view the cut shape, right? That's how you'd visualize it. So thank you, guys. That's it for this tutorial. I wish you all the best in your exams. I'm sure you all will do well. Thank you for watching. So now I'm just sectioning it so that I'll highlight that this thing has been cut. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you so much.